Okay, we're going to talk a lot about why it's important to delegate, why it's essential to delegate. But let's take a moment to talk about why we don't, when we know that we could or should. Because we're scared. We're scared of all the possible things that can go wrong. We could lose money. We could lose face. We could compromise a relationship. We could lose the opportunity to be in the spotlight. We could screw up. We could make a fool of ourselves in front of our colleagues, our superiors, or our subordinates. There's 1,000 reasons why millions of people don't delegate when they know that they can or should. But what it ultimately boils down to is fear. And fear is what drives resistance. Resistance, this irrational voice or creature inside of actually every single one of us that implores us not to do something that we know may be right, but then there's this weird risk to it. Ego. Whatever we resist, we usually do because in some way it's going to mess with our ego. And the weird thing is that our ego actually wants to stay small, and the creative, optimistic one in us that reaches and wants to achieve more is at odds with the ego, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, just attempt to entertain that idea for a moment. Our ego wants us to stay small. Our ego wants us to maintain status quo because we're safe. We're safe. Our feelings are safe. Our sense of ourself is safe. Even if we do weird, bad stuff, in that space, status quo, we're safe. We know what's coming around the corner. Okay, all this lofty ego psychobabble stuff, right? How does it relate to delegation? Because when we aren't delegating, it's usually because we're not getting out of our own way to delegate. What does delegation do for us? It creates freedom. And it creates strength in relationships with those that we delegate work to. It proves the faith and the trust that we have in someone else when we delegate high stakes, high consequence, important work to them. It says to them, through the work, not words and not perks, through the work, it says, I care about you, I trust you, I want you to be a part of this project or this task with me. I need you to be a part of this project or task with me. It's for the greater good, and it's also going to make you better, and it's going to make me better. That's what delegation does. It opens the relationship, and it opens the total growth for your team, organization, company, firm. What is this world where we actually let go of the stuff we think we have to do ourselves? What is this new space all about? What if the shift that occurs here is letting go of control and gaining a new skill, communication, collaboration, really, in reality, through high stakes work? You're not really getting that much better as a lawyer if you are only, always, just doing the work that in your mind you go, oh, screw it, I'll just do it myself. You're not actually getting that much better because you're not doing stretch work, stretch projects. You're not creating more time and space for yourself. And I understand that there may be times when the client needs to see the work delivered by you, and you may need to bill some hours against the work. But when you don't share it at all, whether it's with your linear peers or with subordinates, who wins there, right? Do you even win, really? Because you're not going and reaching for more. You're just doing what's coming down the waterfall of work instead of sharing it and getting out of the way and allowing it to get into somebody else's hands who is equally, if not sometimes more capable of doing that work really well. All right, so we've probably now efficiently or sufficiently laid out the premise for why to delegate and why we tend not to when we're afraid. How to delegate. In super brief terms, the act of delegating is a practice. It takes practice, and it is a practice. A great bass player, a great painter, a great writer, a great coder, a great lawyer. They're great at what they do because of practice and because they treat the work like a practice. They keep coming back to the work day in and day out. And as a result of doing that, they get so many reps, so much practice, that they begin to emerge into the higher level of that work called mastery. And how does that happen? Well, another word for practice is repetition. Reps, regularly, every day, every week, whatever amount the work gives you the opportunity to practice with, that is how much you should be practicing. If 10 tasks come down the pipe that can be delegated, then you should delegate 10 tasks. Not 4 and not 8, but 10. Because every time you go through a repetition, imperfectly as it may be, of delegation, you get better at delegation. Your team members get better at whatever it is you may have delegated to them. And the relationship you have with those team members is strengthened and fortified and changed, okay? Status quo grows, okay? Now we're talking about organizational ego. Everyone begins to move in a direction of shared work, shared input, shared feedback, a freer space to communicate questions, mistakes. That's what begins to happen through delegation. So one of the first things that I want you to think about with regard to how to delegate, it's you don't delegate when you feel as though you have to, and you don't delegate when you feel as though you want to. You delegate every opportunity there is to delegate something as a matter of practice. It is a non-negotiable. If it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. If it looks like something you can delegate and it sounds like something you can delegate, delegate it. Seek out opportunities on a daily or weekly basis. Okay. Probably, gave you enough there. So moving to the idea here of, okay, well, how do I know when enough is enough? Well, got to get pretty rudimentary with this, and you should not be embarrassed or bashful about doing so. Look at your work, write down the elements of that work or the tasks of that work or the tasks within the tasks. If it's a project that you can break down, and every project can be broken down, by the way, and look at it and say, can it be delegated? And the answer to that question isn't really about, well, can I do it or can someone else do it? Is it something someone else other than me, Dave O'Connor, or you, whoever's watching this video, can pass to someone else? Yes or no? It's not about whether you can do the work. It's about whether that work could go to somebody else. And the answer 99% of the time is yes, because you are surrounded by other practitioners. If you look at any other high operating field of excellence, space exploration, rocket science, engineering, all of these fields consist of people that pass work down on or over to other people that they trust. And you know how to create trust with other people. Give them something to do with a little bit of risk factor involved. A little bit of risk for you, a little bit of risk for them. It's a part of life. And the more reps you can get in where you are challenging your comfort zone with that risk, the more you'll be able to see what other people are capable of, and the more you'll also be able to see what you are capable of letting go of and get more done and get it done better and have more people feel involved and happy about having been a part of it. I believe accountability for habit formation also requires that we get a buddy, an accountability buddy. It's this cliche word for it, but we have someone that we, in a sense, kind of report into. And we say, hey, and this is how it would look. Hey, this project just came in. There are 5 pieces that I know I could delegate to someone else, and I'm delegating all 5. 2 of them are going to go to you, 2 of them are going to go to Sarah, and 1 of them is going to go to Steve. And 1 of them is going to go to Alicia. There's 5. All 5 out the door. In fact, here's a real piece of homework for you. Should you choose to accept it, and I think you should, I want you to look like a hunter. I want you to look for the project that you can do nothing on other than assign to other people. And assign it and communicate it out effectively as you can. Ask for forgiveness in advance that you may not articulate it perfectly. Ask for forgiveness in advance if you feel like you might be a jerk when you react to what those other people have brought back to you on that project. Whatever you need to do it imperfectly and get the ball rolling. One project, every element or task inside of it, assign it out. You should not lay a finger on the project after that, other than to review what your colleagues have produced for you. Okay, how might you delegate that out in an effective way? Here's what it could sound like. And I'm going to take a non-legal example here because I don't know enough of the nomenclature, your vocabulary to be effective there. But we'll take this from a sales setting. Hey, Matt, we have an opportunity to pitch our business to 100 of the affiliates of one of our existing customers. And I want you to produce the pitch for it. And I know that this is a completely new experience for you. I know that you have never done a full soup to nuts sales pitch before. And I also understand that you don't know every one of the affiliates that are going to be in the room with us. I still have faith in your ability to produce, at a bare minimum, a draft that we can work off of. But I'm pretty confident that you can run the show on this thing. You're smart. You're resourceful. I have faith in you. And I'm going to help you out. Our presentation is scheduled for a month from now. So what I want you to do is take the next 2 weeks to prepare your first draft of this deck. And then we will take the following 2 weeks after that to begin to review and refine that deck. And again, you're going to be doing the lion's share of the work on this, but I'll check in. I'll provide some advice where I can. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you surprised me with some creative approaches to this deck that I might not have ever thought of. Okay, so 2 weeks from now, we'll sit down and we'll break this deck down together. If you are able to get me the draft 2 days before our sit down date, I'd really appreciate being able to take a look at it so that then we can make the most of our meeting time. And I'm not just editing through a deck while you sit in front of me. But at the very latest, 2 weeks from today, I want to sit down and you and I are going to break down your draft. And then we're going to continue to tinker with it and Look, this is a huge deal for our company. We've never had this volume of opportunity all in one room before. So this is unprecedented, and I'm really excited to work on it. You can screw this up, but I don't think you will. And I could screw this up if I did it all by myself, but I both do not have the time, and I also I don't grow very much if I exclusively work on this deck, but you will grow. This is an awesome opportunity for you to stretch your ability in your craft of sales. So what do you say? You want to work on this project with me? Okay. And what can I do to help you be successful? And if you don't have any answers to that question now, that's fine. I'd like to check in with you in a couple days. If you find that you've begun to sink your teeth into this project and you do have questions, I'm here. But so is the rest of our team, and so is the internet and any other resource you are smart enough to grab a hold of and use to help you work on this project. Sound good? Great. Let's knock this out of the park together. Okay. Little example of how to articulate delegation. All right. So what did I do there? I expressed, or I articulated the project itself, the scope of the project. I articulated why it's important to the company, to me, and to this counterpart of mine, Matt. So basically, like, I laid out the stakes, and the stakes are high. If we don't nail it on this pitch, there are consequences. We have missed a major opportunity. I look like a fool, and so does Matt. Nobody wants to fail here. And guess what? When the stakes are high, 99% of people, they stand up and they deliver. And they want to do a great job for you. They want to do a great job for themselves. So find the opportunity for the high stakes to pass that project on to someone else and support them in the process of them completing that high stakes project or task for you and the firm. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now. And the last thing that I want to say is to delegate is to be a professional. And resistance hates it when we turn pro. So fight resistance and move towards being a professional, which includes delegation as a practice.